The hearing officer meeting for August 15th, 2017 is called to order. Good afternoon. My name is David Williams and I'm the City of Tempe's hearing officer. The City of Tempe hearing officer is authorized by Arizona revised statute and by the City of Tempe Zoning and Development Code, and he has the duty to carry out the provisions and intent of the city's adopted general plan and zoning and development code. The hearing officer is granted the authority to conduct public hearings, to review and either approve, continue, deny, or approve with conditions several types of cases, including property abatements, use permits, and variances. On today's modified agenda, we have 6 items that will actually be heard, consisting of 1 set of meeting minutes, 1 property abatement case, 2 use permit requests, 1 variance request, and we're also going to have 1 review of compliance with assigned conditions of approval from a previously approved use permit. Agenda item number 2 and agenda item number 3, if you were here for either of those items, they will not be heard today. Those properties were brought into compliance with city code and the request for abatement has been withdrawn. As the hearing officer, I have reviewed and I've carefully reviewed the City of Tempe Community Development Department report on each of the items on today's agenda, and I consider that information during the meeting today and during our deliberations. Additionally, I've driven by each of the properties that we'll discuss today on the agenda to help me have an understanding of the neighborhood context, the actual property condition, and the improvement or change that's being requested on the agenda. If you are an applicant or interested citizen, when your request is called or when you wish to address the hearing officer, please come on up front, step up to the microphone, state your name and city of residence. Any person other than the applicant that wishes to speak about a case on today's agenda should complete a white speaker's card. They look like this. They're up front by the microphone and there's some in the back of the room. Please complete that and turn it in when you come up to speak. Any person who might be aggrieved by a decision that's made today has the right to file an appeal. He has to do that within 14 calendar days from the date of the decision. So as such, the deadline to make any appeals for decisions made today is 3 p.m. on September 5th, 2017. That's September 5th, 2017, 3 p.m. Appeals of decisions of the hearing officer are either heard by the Board of Adjustment or the Development Review Commission, whichever body is appropriate based on the type of case that's being appealed. In the case of a property abatement, if the property owner fails to file an appeal and fails to bring the property into compliance prior to that deadline, the code violations that are going to be addressed at the hearing today will be abated by the City of Tempe. I want to introduce a couple folks that are here with me today. Over to my right is Steve Abrahamson, Principal Planner, Diane McGuire, Administrative Assistant, and Lee Jimenez, our Senior Planner. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the agenda for today. Our first item is consideration of the minutes from our August 1st, 2017 meeting here in the council chambers, and I have reviewed those minutes and they are hereby approved. Item number 2 on the agenda and item number 3, as I mentioned, will not be heard today as those properties are in compliance. So we're going to jump over to agenda item number 4, which is a request approval to abate public nuisance items at the VOGEL property at 924 East Broadmoor Drive. The applicant's the City of Tempe. Ms. Schofield.
Good afternoon. Julie Schofield with the City of Tempe Code Compliance. Here today to ask for 180-day open abatement for 924 East Broadmoor Drive. It would be for the landscaping in the front and the back yard of the property.
Did you visit the property today, Ms. Vogel?
Yes, I did.
Has there been any improvement or significant change since the prior time you'd inspected it?
No, sir, there has been no change to the property.
Can you give me a quick summary of your contact, if any, with the property owner over the last 30 or 60 days?
Yes, I've starting back in April, I mailed the first notice regarding the front yard, and then a final notice at the end of April. In the middle between now and April, I received a complaint for the backyard of the property, and when I visited it on May 12th, a notice was mailed to include the backyard of the property as well. Citations have been issued. The first citation was paid. The second citation has not been paid. There has been no verbal contact with the owner. This is a vacant property.
Thank you very much for your work today. Anybody in the audience who'd like to speak on agenda item number 4, an abatement case with the VOGEL property? I did visit the property today. It is pretty much an eyesore, and I certainly have sensitivity to the neighbors who have to live with that day in and day out. The request by the city to abate this property, to have an open 180-day abatement is approved as requested. Thank you, Ms. Schofield.
Thank you.
Our next item on today's agenda is item number 5. This is a request for review for compliance with the assigned conditions of approval for an approved use permit which allowed an amusement business called Dare to Escape, located at 9875 South Priest Drive in Suite 101. The applicant is Alpay Bicer of Puzzlist LLC. Mr. Jimenez, can we have some background and a report?
Good evening, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. Dare to Escape AZ has been operating in an escape room facility for the past year in Suite 101 of Office Building D in the Phase 4 Lot 1 Tempe Crossings 2 Commercial Subdivision within the PCC2 Planned Commercial Center General District. The hearing officer heard and approved a use permit to allow an amusement business in the form of an escape room facility on July 19, 2016. The approval of the use permit conditioned that the applicant return to the hearing officer for a 6-month review of compliance with conditions of approval. According to the applicant, the establishment was partially operational shortly after the use permit was approved. The business became fully operational 6 months ago. He's noted that no issues have been experienced and that parking has not been an issue. Their busiest times of the week are on Friday evenings and Saturdays. No security plan was required by Tempe Police, and no calls for service related to this use have been reported in the past year. To date, 1 phone call in opposition was received. The caller lives in the neighborhood north of the site and believes that this use is not compatible with the area and that it may lead to downgrading of property values. She said she visited the business's website and does not condone this type of business. On the contrary, I still have no issues with this, and as indicated in the staff report, staff believes that the operation is in compliance with all the conditions of approval and supports the continuation of the use of this use. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your report on that. Is the applicant here today? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Alpay Bicer.
Welcome.
I'm the co-owner of Puzzlist LLC, operating Dare to Escape AZ.
Do you have any questions or any concerns?
I don't have any questions. It's been going pretty smooth.
How are things going?
It's been going very smooth. I mean, when we were approved for the use permit last year, the biggest concern was the parking issue, and we didn't really observe any complaints or any issues. It's a big property with a lot of parking spaces. So.
Very good. Well, thank you for operating a business in the city. We appreciate having you here, and you're welcome to have a seat. I'll see if there's anyone else who wants to speak. And again, good luck with your business.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who also wants to speak on agenda item number 5? Now is the time. I also visited this property and found no issues or concerns. As Lee Jimenez mentioned, they've been found to be in compliance with their conditions of approval of their use permit that was previously approved. So what I find today is that Dare to Escape is in fact in compliance with their conditions of approval. And thank you again for being here, and good luck with your business. Continued good luck. Item number 6. This is a variance request to approve a variance to reduce a required side yard setback to allow a new attached 2-car garage for the HISCHIER residence located at 122 East 15th Street. The applicant is John Ball of Stopperknot, which is also a neighbor, I think, if I noticed correctly as I cruised your neighborhood. Mr. Jimenez, could we have a report, please?
Good evening. Lee Jimenez once again, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. The HISCHIER Residence is located on Lot 5 of the University Park Addition subdivision, which is situated north of East 15th Street, east of Oakley Place, and west of South College Avenue within the R16 Single Family Residential District. The applicant, John Ball, is requesting a variance to reduce the required west side yard setback to allow for a 980 square foot garage and storage room addition. The setback reduction will reduce the side yard setback from 5 feet to 3 feet. A neighborhood meeting was held on July 19, 2017 at the HISCHIER residence. The neighbors who attended were all in support of the variance request. Prior to the neighborhood meeting, Mr. HISCHIER received an email from the neighbor to the west whom supports the variance request on condition that the garage is painted a muted color to blend in with the adjacent trees and that drainage from the roof does not cross onto her property. No other public input has been received since then by staff. As indicated in the staff report, based on the information provided by the applicant, the public input received, staff does not believe this application meets all the approval criteria for the variance request. In staff's opinion, the Alpay pine trees on the east end of the property are not considered a special circumstance. Furthermore, the strict application of the Zoning and Development Code does not deprive the HISCHIER residents of privileges enjoyed by other property owners of the same classification in the same zoning district. For example, the property located at 33 East 15th Street has a two-car garage on a lot with a smaller building envelope than the HISCHIER residence. Nevertheless, staff does believe that the variance request is not considered a grant of special privileges inconsistent with limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and zone, and that the special circumstance provided is not considered self-imposed. However, should affirmative action be taken on this request, the conditions of approval listed in the staff report shall apply. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
Okay, so there's some concern at your level about compliance with the criteria or the variance, which are state-derived criteria for all variances. But it's safe to say, or it is correct to say, that in this vicinity and neighborhood, these types of setbacks are in fact commonly found on other properties.
That is correct.
Okay, understood. And is there anything in the strict application of the code that maybe you said and I didn't catch that you feel this application is in violation of or creates a nuisance or other conflict?
No.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I've got at the moment. And thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Is the applicant here today? Come on up.
My name is John Ball. I'm an architect. I live at 126 East 15th Street, next door to Mr. HISCHIER. I predate Mr. HISCHIER in the neighborhood, but I haven't been there as long as the father of our joint lawn mowing service, Mr. Messer.
Welcome.
So, thank you. So, it's been my duty in the neighborhood to monitor what Ron is doing and he's been doing a great job with his property. It's been in a continual state of improvement ever since he got there, however long ago, let's say 8 years. And this is just one more improvement. When you look at the property, this is kind of like the only logical place to put this garage. And we understand the technicalities of the zoning ordinance and the technicalities of the variance procedure, and we really appreciate the lengths to which Lee has gone to research this to a really terrific degree, and his thoroughness and coming out and meeting with the neighborhood and his willingness to sit in his office on many occasions and talk about this. So the city has really tried to work with us to find a way. But this is the logical spot for this garage on the property. You could put it somewhere way in the back and have a long hike to the house, but this is the spot. And as you noted, it's without going out and physically surveying every property. There are a lot of buildings, carports, some garages that appear to be, at least just from looking from the street and not entering the property, that are as close or closer to their property lines. So I think, a related issue is that this is abutting a rear yard setback, not a side yard setback. So there isn't really a chance of two very tight side yards being next to each other. We're getting a little closer to the side yard than might be allowed, but the property adjacent it's a rear yard setback, so it'll be whatever its setback is, 15, 25 feet, whatever it is. So I think that the chances of this becoming, a noxious event in the neighborhood is very low. With regard to the neighbors' request that it be painted a muted color, I think the homeowner is just fine with that. And also the rainwater runoff, it can be totally mitigated in the 3 feet that are remaining. So no water will go onto her property, and the color is easily doable. So we're in agreement with that. And if I can answer any questions,
Would
let me
you
know.
be willing to add a note to the plans or to stipulate to some type of color that you believe meets her intent? Obviously, she was concerned about something flashy or reflective, so it sounds like you're in agreement. Is that wall a 5-foot or 6-foot wall between the two properties to
The
the west?
CMU wall is a 6-foot wall.
Okay.
And so it would just be a little sliver that she could see from the back.
And how big a sliver? 2, 3 feet?
The eave is 9 feet, so let's say 3 feet.
3 feet, and then you have the roof material, which is
It'll-
asphalt shingle.
It would match that dark-colored asphalt shingle.
Okay.
Actually, the brightest thing on this thing would be the fascia. The house right now has a white fascia board, so whether on that side it changes color or whether we paint it and see what she says.
If you would specify, first of all, the city's code doesn't require you to do that. As a respect to the neighbor, if you could do a low reflective color so she doesn't get light off of that west elevation in her back window. She's 50 feet, it looks like,
Yeah,
her setback.
yeah.
So like you'd mentioned, there's a nice space there. So I appreciate your agreement to that, and I'm sure she would as well. That is pretty close. So, and it's pretty long. What's that front to back dimension is pretty good size, right? It's also maybe 70 feet long or 60 feet deep.
40-something feet, yeah.
Because any of the questions I had, that was pretty much it. I do appreciate you taking the neighbors' concerns into heart, and good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing for a variance request to reduce the side yard setback from 5 to 3 feet. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak today? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Chris Messer. I live at 111 East 14th Street. I'm just on the other side of the George Ditch and Parkway Boulevard from Ron, maybe a little bit to the west, and I'm here to support the request.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. Welcome back.
Thank you. If you've got any questions for me, or...
Not in particular, but you feel this is fairly or reasonably in character with the neighborhood and fits
Yes.
in as designed?
Yes, I
As a
do.
neighbor and a property
I think it's in
owner?
the appropriate location on his property. I'd hate to see it anywhere else, taking up his yard, which is beautiful.
It is a lovely property. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else who'd like to speak on agenda item number 6, a variance for the HISCHIER property? I'm not seeing anyone else. I understand the staff has recommended denial. I've reviewed the case. I drove the neighborhood, looked at adjacent not adjacent, but other properties in the neighborhood and adjacent properties. I have a slightly different finding than the staff. I do believe this variance request meets the required criteria. I think it does allow for a reasonable use of this property. And as such, this request for variance is approved, subject to the 2 conditions in the staff report. Good luck with your project, and again, thank you for addressing the neighbors' concerns. That's appreciated by all. Okay, let's go on to agenda item number 7. This one is a request for approval of a use permit to allow an amusement business.
Hearing Officer Williams,
Yes.
could you go through the actual questions regarding a variance and indicate as to how you see that it fits in as opposed to staff?
Sure.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
I can do that. Didn't we discuss that in our study session? Okay, so let's talk about that a minute. So on agenda item 6, so we're on the same page here. The variance has four criteria that are addressed in the staff report and our code. And the first one is the special circumstances are applicable to the property, including its size, shape, topography, location, surroundings. And in this case, this is a historic district. What is special about this property is the unique neighborhood, is the character in this area where we have additions are very common and they push toward the property lines. It is a circumstance that has grown over time, like this neighborhood, and we feel the extent of alterations, as mentioned in the staff report, it's not necessarily a contributing property to this as historically significant, but it does, as staff mentions, have pine trees on the east end. They are not a special circumstance either. I'm a little bit backwards there, I apologize. The special circumstances are applicable to the property are basically its site and situation. The number 2, strict application of the code will deprive property owner of privileges enjoyed by other properties. As mentioned earlier in the hearing, it's very common in this neighborhood to see these small setbacks. There have been many additions. I would feel the denial of the variance would deprive this applicant of rights on this property that others do enjoy nearby. Number 3, the adjustment authorized is not a grant of special privilege or inconsistent with limitations on other properties. Again, what we have in the neighborhood are many other properties with small setbacks, and this is consistent with those other setbacks found nearby. Number 4, a variance may not be granted if the special circumstances applicable to the property are self-imposed by the property owner. They mentioned the pine trees and the flood irrigation system are not self-imposed. They were actually there when the property owner bought the property. And also we note that the reason why the property is not considered historic or considering the property contributing, but the reason why the property is not considered historic contributing property is considered self-imposed. I struggled with that one. Okay, again, I feel this is a reasonable request, meets the criteria as outlined. The request for variance is approved, subject to the 2 conditions. And again, thank you. Staff, any other questions?
Thank you, Hearing Officer Williams. I appreciate it.
All right, our next item is agenda item number 7. Request approval of a use permit to allow an amusement business a stress relief room for Simply Smashing. This is PL 170224, located at 1301 East University Drive, Suite 101. The applicant is Stephen Wilk. Mr. Jimenez.
Good evening. Once again, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. Simply Smashing is proposing to operate an amusement business in the form of a stress relief room in Suite 101 of the Aztec Court Commercial Center, located on the southeast corner of East University Drive and South Dorsey Lane in the PCC1 Planned Commercial Center Neighborhood District. The applicant, Stephen Wilk, describes the business as a rage release room establishment which offers a combination of recreational activity, situational stress reduction, and anger management exercises. Individuals over the age of 18 will be allowed to spend up to 20 minutes in one of 3 rage rooms where inanimate objects such as dishes, glassware, ceramics, or printers are demolished with baseballs, baseball bats, crowbars, golf clubs, and hockey sticks. Participants will be required to wear protective gear. To date, no public input has been received in response to this request. As indicated in the staff report, staff believes that this application meets the approval criteria of a use permit and supports this request subject to the conditions provided in the staff report. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
Thank you. Just some curiosity. Rage release room. Is this the first one of these that you've seen as staff for review?
First one I've seen.
Yeah,
across,
Tempe.
yes.
Yeah, myself as well. Very interesting. Have this PD at all weighed in on safety, or I noticed there's precautions to be taken at a staff level. Was there any concern about safety, any extra discussion about this use?
According to the code, an amusement use requires a security plan, but that's up to discretion of police. And I did contact the crime prevention unit officer, and he said no security plan would be required, and he has no really concerns with this type of business.
Okay, thank you for answers for my questions. Is the applicant here today? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Wilk, with Simply Smashing. I live in Phoenix, Arizona.
Welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Any elaboration, details you may have, or any questions?
I guess I would just elaborate. These types of businesses are springing up all over the country right now. People are finding that it's a super way to let go of situational stress due to all kinds of situations, loss of a job, loss of a loved one, politics, and also a recreational activity that people, once they've done it, feel much exhaustion and lighter in feeling.
Oh, therapy. Fair to say it's therapeutic.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've got several therapists who are going to endorse the activity, based on situational stress, for those that it is appropriate for.
Insurance cover that?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Health insurance?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you don't approve it, I'm going to take a bat to this place.
Shame on you. Anything else or any questions? There are several conditions of approval, 3 of them. Any questions about that?
No, sir.
Okay, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing for a use permit. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on agenda item number 7? I'm not seeing anyone. I have a recommendation for approval. 3 conditions. There are 5 criteria for use permits I'd like to review for the record before taking action on this case. The first one is any significant increase in vehicular or pedestrian traffic. There will be some increase, we hope, in pedestrian and vehicular traffic, but nothing that's unexpected or unplanned for this center or that it can't handle with an existing circulation system. Number 2, nuisance arising from the emission of odor, dust, gas, noise, vibration, smoke, and glare exceeding that of ambient conditions. This is an indoor establishment. It's operating on an end unit suite. It has one common wall with another suite in terms of potential noise disturbance. So we feel that the activities happening inside will remain inside and not create external negative externalities, if you will. Criteria number 3 is contribution to the deterioration of the neighborhood or the downgrading of property values, which is in conflict with the goals and objectives of our adopted plans and general plan. We don't think this will downgrade at all. We like to see the investment actually in a new business open up. We don't see any conflict there. We think the establishment will be, and I agree with staff's opinion, a healthy release. We mentioned therapeutic a minute or 2 ago for folks who would like to have an opportunity to do so. So this 3rd criteria seems to be met well. Number 4, compatibility with existing surrounding structures and uses. We're not changing anything on the exterior of the building. Its suite is adjacent to industrial zone in terms of potential noise, which again we don't expect any noise emissions that would not be out of the norm for this building and this center. Criteria number 5, adequate control of disruptive behavior inside and out the premises, which may create a nuisance to the surrounding area of the public. Certainly not expecting any issues outside this, as it's an indoor use. The behavior indoors will be interesting, but doesn't appear to be disruptive or a problem or a concern to neighboring properties or the community in general. And again, the therapeutic value of it seems like a positive contribution to the community. Staff also notes, and that's important, that no weapons or alcohol be associated with this use or on this site. So the 5 criteria seem to be met, in my opinion. The request for use permit is approved, subject to the 3 conditions in the staff report. And thanks for being here, and good luck with your business. Okay, we got one more case today. As our agenda says, it's item number 8. It is a request also for a use permit approval to allow retail sales for a establishment called All About Golf. It's case PL 170227, and the business is located or will be located at 1828 East University Drive in Suite 7. The applicant is Mr. Todd Batt. Mr. Jimenez.
Good evening. Once again, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner. All About Golf is proposing to operate a golf shop in Suite 7 of an industrial complex located east of South McClintock Drive and north of East University Drive in the GID, General Industrial District. The applicant, Todd Batt, explains that the shop will also provide ancillary services such as golf club repair, golf instruction, and club fitting. The proposed hours of operation are from 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays, and closed on Sundays. The business will have 4 employees, 2 full-time and 2 part-time. To date, no public input has been received. As indicated in the staff report, staff believes that this application meets the approval criteria for a use permit and supports this request subject to the conditions provided in the staff report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jimenez. And just to be clear, it's a property that building that fronts on University Drive and has the appearance of retail, but it's zoned industrial, and as such, our code requires a use permit for a use that's mainly retail or primarily retail. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
To say? Thank you for your report, sir. Is the applicant here for agenda item number 8, All About Golf? Come on up. I should have known the guy with the golf shirt would be.
Todd Batt from Chandler.
Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
We just need your name for the record, and if you've got any
Todd Batt.
welcome. Anything you've got, any information you want to present or any questions? Excuse me for interrupting you.
Nope, not at all. Been in Tempe pretty much my entire life. Went to McCamey and McClintock and worked at Shalimar Golf Course, Rolling Hills Golf Course. I've been a part of Tempe Golf for a long time and would love to have my business there.
Excellent. Well, thanks for being here again.
Thank you.
And see if there's anyone else who'd like to speak. This is a public hearing for a use permit. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on agenda item number 8, use permit for All About Golf? Seeing no one else in the hearing room, we'll close the public hearing. There are criteria for use permit that need to be evaluated and met to approve a use permit, including any significant increase in vehicular or pedestrian traffic. This use is not expected to do that. It's not expected to make a significant increase. Hopefully there will be a marginal increase. It is planned and designed for this type of traffic. Nuisance arising from the emission of odor, dust, noise, etc., exceeding ambient levels. This is a retail store for golf equipment. There's not expected to generate any of those nuisance items greater than ambient levels or existing levels nearby. There will be some equipment used in repairing golf clubs. This is interior and self-contained. We don't believe any of those noise levels will rise to be a nuisance. In inspecting the property today, I certainly found they're well situated to not become a problem to any adjacent property, including residential. Contribution to the deterioration of the neighborhood or downgrading of property values, which would be in conflict with our goals and objectives of our adopted plans and general plan. We don't see that the retail golf use would have any contribution to deterioration. We think it would be an upgrade. The golfers are the target patrons, are typically found to be historically found to be respectful of property, interested, good citizens, and stewards of the property owner's interests. We feel this will be a good fit here. Compatibility with existing surrounding structures and uses. No changes are expected to the storefront, and the proposed use is compatible with the other business, which include a fitness gym. There's automotive repair shop and other automotive uses there, and a restaurant. This seems like a good fit in my opinion here. Criteria number 5, control of disruptive behavior inside and out. I cannot imagine a disruptive golf supply store or golf equipment store or golf repair activity It's more on the golf court when you hit a course when you hit a bad shot, we can get disruptive. Don't see a problem here. There will be some equipment, as mentioned earlier, that operates that has some high noise levels and has some dust. We expect the dust and noise will be contained adequately and not create a nuisance or a problem that would be outside what is expected. The staff has recommended approval. I certainly am in agreement with that. The request for use permit is approved, subject to the 3 conditions in the staff report, and wish you luck with your business. And again, thanks for being here today. Okay, that's item 8, which is our last agenda item on the August 15th, 2017 agenda. The next meeting of the hearing officer will be in September on the 5th, which is a Tuesday, 2017. And Mr. Abrahamson, anything you want to add at this point?
No, thank you, Mr. Williams. Do appreciate it.
Thank you, staff, for keeping me out of trouble today, and a well-done job. Today's meeting is adjourned.
Thanks a lot, Alan. Oh, nice to meet you. Appreciate all your work. Good job.